Shunko ichiko, hey hey nay nay way Shunko ichiko, hey hey nay nay way Shunko ichiko, hey hey nay nay way Shunko ichiko, hey nay nay way Wong Kong Tonga Wong Kong Tonga Wong Kong Tonga Wong Kong Tonga Shunko ichiko, hey hey nay nay way 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 Today I offer a prayer to the native indigenous tribes of the United States and North America. I share this prayer on a day that is known as Columbus Day, that is to celebrate a man and a tribe of white-skinned folk who traveled across the sea in apparent exploration, so-called pioneers, so-called masters, who found a beautiful land and became the first of the tribe of takers to visit this beautiful land and start taking what they thought was theirs. Christopher Columbus first came across a tribe called the Arawak tribe, and the Arawak tribe, they didn't even have words, certain words that were even available in their language when it came to things like conflict and violence, because some of those concepts weren't even part of their existence. They were an absolutely peaceful tribe. But after the white men visited them, it wasn't so, because they started taking very rapidly their resources and their land, and they continued to do that across North America. This might not be an important discussion for most people, and in fact, I feel like when a lot of people bring up the discussion about native and indigenous tribes, it's the attitude of get over it, right? It happened in the past. Okay, we recognize that there was genocide, but we're not those people. And I feel like that mentality is perpetuated by a people who are of the lineage of those takers. That was not very long ago when this happened, and I feel like the responsibility of those who are of the lineage of the takers, of the white man, of the ones who came and turned this land from beauty and pristine into a big fucking shopping mall, need to take some fucking responsibility, and they need to stand up and take responsibility for the fact that we in our DNA still have the written prejudices and the mindset that this land is ours to take from without returning to it. This idea was spread across, and people will say, well, my family was of poor means too. They were just trying to make their way. And it's true that many struggling, suffering, poor white families were told by the powers that be that manifest destiny was an essential necessity of the spreading of the white agenda and civilization. So they were justified in taking land from the indigenous. They were justified in killing them in conflicts when it happened. They were justified in being okay with the fact when they were completely eradicated in some areas, complete tribes, complete heritages wiped off the face of the earth so that the white plague could perpetuate its civilization. So the white man and the civilization that it perpetuated could take the natural resources of the land and twist it and mutate it until it became a cancer, until it became something like plastic or styrofoam that can no longer be integrated back into the land, but rather just dumped into a hole to be a potential blight until the end of its time. We need to take responsibility for who we are and where we came from. Our heritage is written into our DNA. The energy, the vibration, the information of our heritage is written into our DNA. So if we are of a heritage of takers, then we have a propensity to be a taker. These methods, these ways, these impulses are still alive and well, and it is killing us. We need to return to the indigenous ways. We need to go back and learn from these people who were stewards of the land, who knew how to take and give back so that it was a symbiotic relationship. And don't you dare try to cite any of the blemishes that might be a part of tribal life back when it was flourishing, because it's a moot point. Sure, they were warring tribes still. There were still violent tribes. There were still hardships. There was still diseases to get over, but not in the way that the white and taker civilization introduced a whole new level of struggle, of conflict, of violence, of nastiness with our awesome capitalistic society. We need to learn how to integrate back into the land, or else she will shed us off her skin like a bad case of fleas. So today I recognize the indigenous peoples of North America, and I strike down the concept that Columbus or any of his like were of any, I almost said of any benefit, but that would be a wrong statement, because history is what history is, and now we are here now. But this is a desperate time we're living in, and we need to realize that there are methods, there are um, there are ways that our culture can learn from the indigenous, and we need to bring back their ways, and we need to honor what we did to them, because what we did to them is what we are doing to the earth, and that is taking and taking, pillaging, killing, raping, taking, so that we can make new iPhones, so that we can make new gadgets to keep us distracted from the fact that we have become a race of takers, and our soul is veiled by a cloud of blackness and ignorance. The ignorance we see in the news, the racism that leads to black and other people of color being killed without prejudice or with great prejudice, incarcerated, all these things of racism that are alive and well are all part of our history. And the indigenous people can teach us that that part is still, it's still bubbling within our collective consciousness. And when we ignore, when we say, oh God, people are talking about native people again, they're talking about the wars, they're talking about the genocide, or the, and they shrug it off like, live in the now. It's part of our lineage. It is in the now. There is non-locality. Past, present, and future are here right now with us. And those desires that were instilled in our culture to take and torture the land and its people is still in our blood. It is still in the information that is carried in our vibration, and we need to transmute it. We need to not ignore it. We need to face it head on. And if we are part of the culture, of the lineage of the takers, then we have a responsibility to stand with our native brothers and sisters and help them flourish again and help the ways come back. We need to wash away the wounded ways of this world. So I offer one more prayer with this beautiful being for the indigenous people and the return of the indigenous ways. Dear Mother Earth, this beautiful being that has consciousness, I think it's convenient for us to ignore the fact that the earth is alive, because then it makes it feel easier for us to take from it instead of take from her. Could you imagine if you were a baby in the womb of your mother and you somehow found a way to take her internal organs and just start taking little bits of them and mutating them into cancer cells because it made you feel good or it helped you in some way, you thought it helped you? Could you imagine being that? Being a little baby inside your mom and you just decided to be a taker and you just start taking bits of your mother and just mutating them into cancer? But if we live on just a pretty blue rock in the middle of the universe, it's a lot easier to not really care, right? So this prayer is for Mother Earth. Mother Earth, I'm sorry. I apologize on behalf of all my human family for being takers, for taking what they want without giving to you in return, without being in regard of your integrity, of your respect, of not holding you to the highest sacred respect that they can, because you deserve that respect. You deserve respect for the life-giving food, for the life-giving water, the life-giving air that gives us the ability to even be alive. Without you, we would not be here, and we have forgotten that. We have lost our ways. So I ask you to help us, show us the ways, bring back the indigenous ways, and connect us with ourselves again.